The manager stopped them on the way out. "I just gotta ask y'all," he said, "when y'all get up in the morning and look at yourselves in the mirror, how do you stand it?" I'd be like, "I don't know, ask your mama. She get up in the morning with me." From every mountainside, let freedom ring.
Riding high on the west side, looking for a hood rat to play. Won't you come out and play? Won't you come out
Sylvester
and
and the
play?
band, now rather than his hot band, shuttled back and forth between clubs in Los Angeles and San Francisco. They played Bimbo's 365 a lot. They played with Mary Clayton at the Keystone in Berkeley and shared a bill with Stevie Wonder at the Whiskey A Go-Go in Los Angeles. Well, Sylvester had been a groupie just a couple of years before. They played some of the standards Sylvester had done over the past few years, and the Beatles' Blackbird, Somebody Loan Me a Dime, a song by Chicago bluesman Fenton Robinson, Wilson Pickett songs that Sylvester had danced to with the discotheques like Hello Sunshine and Stagger Lee. Sylvester's soul shouts turned James Taylor's Fire and Rain from a smooth downer into something more fiery and wet, and his high voice brought something like pain to Neil Young's Southern Man, lyrics about burning crosses and cracking bullwhips. The band was tight with horns, and the hot band drummer Travis Fullerton says the sound of a kick-ass Roadhouse rhythm and blues band. Together, they built crowds into such a fever that their gigs sometimes resembled riots. For the Halloween weekend, Bill Graham booked Sylvester and the Hot Band as the opening act for David Bowie at Winterland, a former ice rink that had been converted into a 500-person arena where Jefferson Airplane and the Grateful Dead had played. It was their biggest gig yet. Now, we've talked about this several times in other books where Sylvester had the San Francisco area under such a spell that when David Bowie came to town, he could barely sell out tickets. And David Bowie was like, meh, I mean, they have Sylvester. They don't need me. Like, sometimes areas are locally loyal. And it seems like the San Francisco area was locally loyal to Sylvester. In early 1973, Sylvester and the Hot Band were signed to Bob Krasnow to Blue Thumb Records. Blue Thumb, though based in Beverly Hills, had a renegade San Francisco spirit, an appreciation for eccentricity, and any music that could make you shake your booty. Yeah. Sylvester's strategy as a discotheque, as a coquette, had always been to send fantasy ahead and let the reality catch up. The one thing Sylvester knew he wanted to be and deserved to be was a star. Being a star is first of all knowing that you're a star. The rest will take care of itself. Now, anyway, Blue Thumb had gave Sylvester a cash advance. Child, that ninja was shopping. Blue Thumb gave him a cash advance. He took one of his band members' wife. Her name was Cassie. They went shopping, and he bought him one of them Volkswagen Bugs with a Rolls Royce rim on it. What is it? The front grill. That's what it is. A Rolls Royce grill on it, child. He went through his little money, and luckily Cassie had told her, "Oh, girl, you spending too much money too fast. Put some of this money in the bank." Thank God for Cassie. I wish some of these rappers had a Cassie. Some of these rappers be broke as hell, and you don't even know it. Scratch My Flower came out an unlikely, uneven, jagged edge potpourri of covers from different genres and time periods, mostly culled from Sylvester and the Hot Band's show set. James Taylor, Ray Charles, and Lieber and Stoller. Neil Young's Southern Man, along with Sylvester, arrangement of My Country, 'Tis of Thee. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, for thee I see. Land where my fathers died, something the children's cried, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. Y'all forgive me if I didn't get the whole thing right, Chav. But I bet you motherfuckers don't know every word in My Country, 'Tis of Thee. That's the national black anthem. The producers didn't understand Sylvester at all, says the hot band drummer, Travis Fullerton. And I think the band may have hijacked her dreams. It was a traveling freak show. That's how, when they was traveling around promoting the album, that's how they were considered. People with shotguns in their pickup trucks would see the long-haired band members and yell out of their windows, "Hippie, go home! Long hairs, you look like girls." At their hotel in Dothan, the manager stopped them on the way out. "I just gotta ask y'all," he said, "when y'all get up in the morning and look at yourselves in the mirror, how do you stand it?" I'd be like, "I don't know, ask your mama. She get up in the morning with me." From every mountainside, let freedom ring. Sylvester mostly just went about the business of being Sylvester, paying that shiz no mind. That's what you gotta do. Anyway, that's right, Lulu. By the time Sylvester and the Hot Band recorded their second album, Bizarre, in late 1973, Sylvester's managers had lost control of the band. The album was, as Carrie Hatch says, more satisfying for us as a band and more honest in terms of what we were doing. R&B with an outrageous singer. When Sylvester opened for Billy Preston at the Santa Monica Civic Auditorium in early 1974, he fluttered on stage in a silver sequined high-slitted dress. Oh my God, I wish I could have been there, y'all. Let me tell you what had happened. So he did with a beautiful dress on, and the dress has wings attached to it. Now, it was supposed to be a whole show. He had wires connected to him, and he was just going to jump over the audience like an angel or a beautiful butterfly or a bird. That shit didn't work. And it wasn't beautiful, girl, at all. It was a buffoonery, child. Oh, you know Sylvester was embarrassed. I can't take this, supposed to work perfectly. I'm Sylvester. This ain't work right. It ain't work right. With no momentum, he swung out a bit, crashed into the side of the stage, and then hung there, just above the third row, twisting and dangling in the cable, wings drooping. "Boys, boys," he yelled as people in the audience grabbed at his broken wings. "Put me down, boys." Sylvester was lowered into the crowd, and the fans mauled him. When he got back to the dressing room, the Hot Band guys howled and cried with laughter. He looked like a hooker on a bad night, says Carrie Hatch. His wings were in tatters, clothes torn, makeup smeared. Oh, my dear. Sylvester said, flopping down on a chair with great ado. "Oh, this is just crazy. I'm just out of my mind." The next week, Preston's management called Dennis Lopez and withdrew the tour invitation. You won't have that big, beautiful black man flying all over my goddamn tour with wings and shit. Earlier that year, Bob Krasnow had given Sylvester a chunk of money. Rumor put it at $2,500 to buy a piano so he could write songs at home. Sylvester spent the money on items. That July, when Krasnow called Sylvester and invited himself over to Sylvester and Michael's house, that's his boyfriend, y'all, Sylvester panicked. Without telling anyone in the band, he went to Paris. Back home, he found the entire hot band had quit. "We all just said fuck it," said Chris Bozart. Bob Krasnow canceled Sylvester's recording contract. Yeah, I'm giving you money to buy a piano so your ass can stay at home and write. His ass over there in Paris shopping. Dig this. Now, the people over there in Paris know who he is. They know that he is Sylvester. He's in Paris. The deal is people following him from store to store, teasing him, calling him an ugly American. It was such an ordeal that it hit the papers. The hot band is like, what the? Because Sylvester didn't even tell them that he was going to Paris. Sylvester just left. You know them Virgos do what they want to do. They don't care about nobody else. Okay, it's what they want to do. I don't owe you no explanations. I wanted to go to Paris, and goddamn, I'm here in Paris. He's in Paris. They follow him around, calling him a big black ugly American. It caused such an ordeal that the newspapers got a hold of it. The people back home, the hot band, and Krasnow like, what is he doing in Paris? He's supposed to be here writing songs. Hot band so pissed that they just quit. No more hot band. Fuck you, Sylvester. Sylvester's dreamy relationship with Michael Lyons had deteriorated by this point. Along with everything else, opposites no longer attracted. Michael believed that less was more, and Sylvester lived by the idea that more was better. Sylvester dropped acid fearlessly, moving outward into the world, seeking psychedelic colors. Michael shot heroin, seeking just the opposite. A blank white screen that erased everything for a while, including him. As Michael saw it, everything Sylvester touched turned to glitter, except for Michael himself. He would go out and be this fabulous, radiant person, he says. And there wasn't much room for me except to walk the dogs behind him. Michael cut his hair off to spite Sylvester, who Michael had concluded just wanted a long-haired, beautiful guy to be his trophy wife. Sylvester complained that heroin was Michael's other lover. It was both a violation of their no sex with others in our bed pact and an outright deception. By the time Sylvester took off for Paris in 1974, Michael says he thought Sylvester looked at him as just a hole, and about the only thing keeping Michael there was Sylvester's beautiful, big, black, huge, beautifully shaped. When Sylvester took off for Paris, Michael Lyons threw a huge weekend blowout, boy-girl suckfest orgy. By the time Sylvester returned, Michael had started working up the strength to leave. In December 1974, Sylvester and the band played at the Whiskey in LA, hoping to land a recording contract. Nobody bit. An LA Times reviewer called the band tepid and inferior, and Sylvester's performance lackluster. The band members stopped playing with Sylvester after that. The same month, Michael paid his bills and moved to Hawaii. By 1975, San Francisco was to gay men and lesbians what Israel was to Jews, only with fewer wars and more parties. It was known as the gathering place of the exiles, the land of milk and honey. This was the era when the various wings of the gay movement, the ones who wanted to be accepted, the ones who wanted to make noise, the ones who shouted gay power, and the ones who quietly argued, "We are just like you," all had at least one thing in common. They all advocated coming out of the closet. Not surprisingly, a lot of people did just that. At the very least, liberation seemed to promise less shame, more love, and better sex. It also, of course, often meant being suddenly revealed to nearly everyone who had thought you were straight. San Francisco was now more than ever where you went to come out and be gay. Working hard for no money can wear thin quickly. And with great regularity, Sylvester and his backup singers, Leroy and Jerry, were getting on each other's gay nerves. They would lighten to each other almost daily, and not for the laughs, and then give each other the "I'm not talking to you ever again, but I know you hear me" treatment. Arnold steered clear. One night at the Long Branch, things were so chilly that none of them said a word or looked at any of the others on stage. And the next day, Sylvester fired the lot of them. He called Arnold and offered to keep him on, but Arnold chose to go his own way. He just knew it was hitting rock bottom, says L.Z. Love, who Arnold became. A few months into 1976, Sylvester moved into an apartment in the Castro with his houseboy turned roommate, David Brewer, and his old friend, Marapasa. They couldn't quite afford it, but no matter. When heiress money was unavailable, Sylvester would use his local celebrity to find a grand apartment, and then he would simply skip the rent part. By the time the landlords got the court involved and served papers, 6 months had elapsed, says Marapasa, and he was on to the next fabulous house, living there another 6 months without paying the rent. Child, we called them squatters. Even when there wasn't a pot to piss in, he was fabulous, says friend Brent Thompson. Early in 1976, Tim McKenna, Sylvester's friend and manager, asked Brent Thompson to help him jumpstart Sylvester's career. Brent and Sylvester later grew close, but for now she was just a friend of a friend of a friend who had worked a bit in the music industry. She had left a marriage and show horses and became a lesbian. Child, that's how I be working sometimes, you hear me? Brent convinced Sylvester over the next few months to get rid of his drag and his drag queen background singers entirely. Nobody is giving out recording contracts to drag queens, she reasoned. Besides, touring will be a lot easier without all those wig boxes. Sandy Reiner called Tip Werrick for another look-see. It's different now, Reiner said. He's going for a record deal. Sure enough, when Tip went back to the cabaret, Sylvester had short hair and a three-piece suit. Now he needed some vocal backup. "I want 2 big girls that can sing," Sylvester told Tip. Then, as if seeing the picture in his head, a scene from his own movie, he said, "And I want them on either side of me." If that didn't work, Sylvester had another plan. He got himself an application to the San Francisco College of Mortuary Science. He would be either a mortician, he thought, or an international superstar. Martha Wash was born and raised in San Francisco in the Western Addition. She started singing when she was a few years old, first in church and then in school choirs.